Maya, I think, is the older generation loves you.
It's too sweet.
Yes.
And they're probably like, এই খাইস্টা মেয়েটা কে? সারাক্ষণ খালি গালিবাজি করে আর বক বক করে।
Wait, can we talk about for a minute what my day yesterday and my epiphany?
Yes. Please
I always knew this whole boss babe, boss bitch, women can do everything.
Yeah.
Superwoman shit was cool but toxic. But I didn't actually come to that. It hit me yesterday coming home from urgent care with all the things that went wrong yesterday from the beginning of the day to the end of the day where we ended up in urgent care. She's fine. 3 stitches. At one point, did I tell you when we got to the urgent care, we were denied by 2 or 3. One of them was like, "Come back in the morning," and I was like yelling at her, and I said, "That doesn't even make sense." Anyway, we finally got to one. They're about to close. They let us in. As we were walking out, as I was getting out of the car, Numer fell, and and he's like একটা তেলাপোকার মতো. He's like, "Ah!" Like I think he was just scared more than anything else. So চিৎকার করতেছি. He cried the whole time, even inside. And at one point, Minal was freaking out for the stitches. I'm standing in the middle of this urgent care room, like I'm কোন দিকে যাব? Like who do I console?
Yeah.
And I got in the car and I was like, damn, like I don't care who your partner is, what they look like, how they identify, like having this single mom or single life really is hard. Like I was like, I can do it. I got it. I felt like it was one-sided anyway. And then after I'm actually like living it, I'm like, it's fine. But there are days where you're just like, fuck this. Like this is hard. And so this whole thing about boss babe life, fuck it. We need to get rid of it.
Normalize being a hot mess. I don't know why that's like frowned upon. It's interesting because even, being in a relationship with a very supportive partner as a parent, I still feel overwhelmed. So I have no idea how you and many single parents manage this. I mean, the part you didn't quite mention there, I just caught, is so you have to take your daughter to urgent care, but you couldn't actually leave your 5-year-old.
Yes, right.
So you have to also take him with you. So
we went to orientation for middle school before that.
God. So it's like this added, you're already dealing with one child injured, and then you're like, oh my God, now I got to handle this toddler. And now the toddler's waiting. There's nothing worse than waiting in ER and urgent care.
Yes.
They don't care. Unless your chest is hurting, you're in the back of the line. So I don't even know how you manage all that. I would be like in fetal position, just
on the floor,
crying and being like, somebody.
But you bring up a good point, because there are people, even with partners, who end up doing everything anyway. And then nobody said, stop.
Hey,
yours travels a lot too, right?
It's not in the country. No, but I'm not going to say it's always a negative thing either, because I also take it on myself, and it's also the circumstance. So I do end up pulling majority of the load when it comes to our home, our kids, but that's sort of, I think I've expected it at this point, and I do get stressed out, and my husband is insanely supportive when I do get stressed out. But at the same time, I mean, he's halfway across the world. There's nothing physically he can do right now. But with that said, even with having a partner who's supportive, who isn't always there, and one of the partner having to take that extra load, we talked about it in one of our other episodes, right? It gets so difficult because, I mean, I pull these single mom weeks pretty much a quarter of the year. And every time I think about my mom, who was a single mother raising a douchebag like me, I was a hot mess when I was a teenager. And my younger brother, and she worked 2 jobs. Sometimes she worked 2 jobs, and then she volunteered and she did this and that, and she took care of us. And I just hats off.
And she made fresh meals every day, you said. She still does.
Not back then.
Oh,
That's what she's making up for it now, right?
It's like, making up for it now.
I have time now. I mean, man, props to a lot of single parents who have like 2-3 jobs. And
yes,
if you think about a lot of immigrant parents coming here, where that's, what they need to do.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And also props to the oldest sibling in many of those families where they have to sort of step up and take that parental role for their younger siblings
and for their parents.
Thing. Yeah.
Like there's so many kids that they're older, they're in the school systems, they're in the systems before their parents are, and they have to actually help their parents fill out forms, like all that stuff, translate, like they're translating at such an early age.
Yeah, I have a Greek friend. Again, our cultures are so similar to many other cultures. She talks a lot about this. She's an only child, and when they came from Greece, her parents didn't know a word of English. And at a very young age, she was literally helping them run their business, translating things and all of that stuff, right? So it happens a lot with immigrant families. So it is crazy to think about.
I've got one story. So this comes up. I talk to my daughter about this all the time. When I was in 7th grade, my mom, so she had separated with my dad when I was transitioning between 5th and 6th grade. So in 7th grade, that was the last year of elementary school in Canada. And I got picked up by a basketball coach in my school who said that, he saw a prospect. He really wanted me to join the team. So I was so thrilled because this was pretty much my first time ever joining, a sports team. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized that, I have some athletic talents. I really want to do this. We heard like our practices were at 6:30 in the morning. And I went the first maybe 2 or 3 days. And then my mom ended up getting a job. She got hired for that. She needed to go early in the morning. So I couldn't go to my practices anymore because I had a 5-year-old younger brother that I had to get ready and take to school.
Oh,
so
wow.
And I still get really upset and really emotional about this, but that's that.
That's so hard. I mean, that's exactly like how many kids have to also make sacrifices. We talk a lot about our parents making sacrifices when they leave their country, but it certainly impacts the children, and especially the older sibling takes on a lot. I mean, like I feel like you almost mature faster.
Yep.
Could be because of that. Well, now we need to really see your athletic capabilities here.
Those are
what was the sport you were going to play? Basketball.
Yeah.
Did you ever do anything after?
I did soccer. Soccer was always after school. So soccer was something that I ended up continuing. But yeah, that was about it. And track. I did track. Yeah.
Oh, damn. First of all, I would have not have pegged you as an athlete.
I wouldn't say I'm an athlete, but I mean, back then I was.
Yeah, you were.
Well, she likes hiking. She's like one of the
that's true.
So like, I feel like she had like active vibes anyways.
That's true.
Whereas I'm just like, how little can I get by with? But
yeah, same. Wow.
Yeah. So you were talking. You mentioned you were at middle school orientation yesterday. So your daughter is. Oh, she's already started middle school, or is this her first?
Mine? Yeah. No, she's 7th grade, so she's had a year of middle school already.
And Zane just started in middle school, and it's funny. So I was driving a couple of his friends. I can't remember for what, but they were talking a little bit about ooh, girls, and so and so like has a crush on so and so. And I thought about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I guess if I can recall, my very first crush, I think, started in that 5th grade time period. I was in love with this boy named Steve. I don't even remember his last name anymore, but man,
where were you?
Couldn't give 2 shits about me. I lived in Rome at the time, and we all went to the American International School there. So there were tons of Americans and folks from all around the globe. But yes, I had a huge crush on this kid named Steve. Mm-hmm. And that was in 5th grade. Mm-hmm. Did you guys start having feelings back then?
5th grade. I think it was 5th grade for me too. We'd moved to a new neighborhood, new school, and his name was Luke. We're in Texas. Luke. Oh. And that's when you just, and it's not really like, I don't know how to even describe the feeling, because it's not like the most romantic feeling.
It's a crush.
It's a crush. Yeah, I don't know how to describe a crush, but yes, that's what it was. 5th grade, that's when it. But then in our school, like Luke had a girlfriend since 3rd grade.
What?
Yeah, like it was just a thing. Like kids were going together. They called it. We go together.
Yeah,
3rd grade. That scares me for my daughter. She's in 2nd grade now.
Yeah.
What about you, Maya? Did you have any crushes?
I did 6th grade. His name was Dennis. He lived in the house on the opposite side of the street from our apartment. And every time I would come out to go to school, he would also be walking and we would make eye contact. He was, but that was about it. He was a complete nuisance. He was equivalent to, remember Zach Morris in Saved by the Bell? He was the Zach Morris of our grade.
Oh my gosh.
Preppy?
Yeah. He was perky. He was just full of energy. He kissed me on the cheek.
When?
Randomly, yeah. That was also, I think, in 6th grade, maybe 7th grade. But he was just like that. It wasn't anything about feelings. He was just dushtu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Aw.
My mom knew about it too.
What did she say?
She would just give me a look like, don't even think about it.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I ever had the balls to tell my mom in 5th grade or class 5.
I still can't.
Yeah.
Like, forget it.
Because I mean, if you think about all of us, I'm sure we've had these crushes, or at some point we did date somebody, right? And obviously it was a big no-no in many of our cultures. Well, I don't know. I'll speak for our culture. It's typically a no-no to date, and guys are just, you can be friends, but that's as far as it gets. But I just think about the age that our kids are getting to now, and I think about all the things that I certainly did without my parents knowing,
or them finding out,
and they never will. And we're at that stage now, and I struggle a little bit, because people will say like, hey, be careful about your relationship with your children. A lot of us strive to be friends with them, but there's a I don't know, like sort of a boundary, a line of, do you really want to be friends with them, or do you there's this level of respect as well. But I don't know if my son would tell me about these things or not. I'm not sure.
I don't think. I always tell her. Yeah, I'm always like, tell me, or I'll push. She talks about everybody else in her friend group, everyone else at school. And it did really start to pick up at 6th grade. Because what I think in elementary school, you are with one class all day long. And I think the teachers also kind of nurture them that way, to where they're all friends in their class. But in middle school, they're just off, and you switch classes, different people all the time. And so this boy, girl, or whatever it is, like different interactions with different people start to pick up, and then they start becoming very vocal about who they like, who they don't like. I was walking through orientation yesterday. These kids were using words where I was like, oh my God, like they were just
throw some examples.
They were cussing. They were using right, like see you next Tuesday, like really bad words, and they're like little Jangrapulapan.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, they know more. They're exposed to more. They probably experiment more. Like, who knows? But I hope she'll tell me. I always ask her, and I try to do it like, what's happening with friends, and then I'll kind of bring it back to her. But she ain't dumb either.
These are our children. You don't think they learn from us. I mean, I feel like I was a little bit of a late bloomer. So I certainly really wanted a boyfriend. I really wanted to like kiss somebody and all that stuff. I mean, I remember I would like practice with my pillow and like try to, I totally did that. Okay. So I was probably 13 or 14. No, I think I was like, geez, I remember being like, oh my God, I'm almost going to be 16 and I never kissed a guy. So I was much older than many of my friends or, others in my family, shall remain unnamed.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? And obviously I thought all things about myself, like I'm ugly,
Yep.
no one's attracted to me, all of that. I didn't have no hair straightener back then, so my hair was like So I get it, boys. You were probably like, I'm not into her. But
no.
But so my first boyfriend was really when I must have been in 9th grade because I was then preparing for my O-levels. And we used to go to, we talked about this a little bit, like
Mastermind?
the coaching, Mastermind, the tutoring centers. And that was really when I had my first boyfriend, was
in Bangladesh?
In 9th grade. Yeah.
That's not late blooming at all, I think.
No. I feel like I was older. People were kissing like, in 7th and 8th.
No.
Even in Bangladesh, dude.
Well,
let me tell you, some of the scene back then in Dhaka within like the English medium circle is we used to have, whether it was like some sort of sporting event or debates. So debates was really big in Dhaka in the English medium. I can only speak to the English medium, where all the schools would have their debate teams. And then, they would sort of travel to the different schools, all in Dhaka. So it's pretty small. And so all the kids would go to watch the debates. Here, people go to watch basketball games. That's how nerdy we are back home. We used to go see debates. And the whole point was we would know, like, all these other guys and girls would be at these events. And we would, like, dress our best because so-and-so is going to be there. And that was kind of like where you would meet a lot of people. I mean, we all knew of each other, even if we weren't in the same schools. I mean, also like shout out Green Herald, South Breeze, Scholastica. Those were kind of like the big schools back then. Now even Sunbeams stretches all the way. But so we all kind of knew each other and we knew who the hot ones were. And that was the whole point, is like go to these events so you could see some of these hotties. But yeah.
How old was that? How old were you guys then?
That's well, so 9th, I was probably 14 or so.
Okay.
I think 14, 15 right. is probably my age at the time.
Because I grew up here.
Yeah.
And I think I said before, there was like a 9-month time when I met your brother.
Right.
That was when I really started to because I also felt like I was just unseen at school.
Yeah.
Completely. Because I think there was like maybe 3 brown people in my school. And I think there's also this like, you feel like you're so different, you're definitely not attractive, right? All those things. Unless it's like the nerdiest one that picks his nose, right? That's the one that sends you little notes and you're like, not you.
Yeah.
But anyway, because there are those.
Yeah.
But when I went to Bangladesh, it was 8th grade. So how old are you in 8th grade? 14.
Probably that age, 14, 15. Yeah.
So I would go with my cousin and I were the same age. And so they would do like our parents would go to Dhaka Club or whatever, and then they would have these like cricket matches.
Yep.
A whole season of it. And so we would go with my mama, and that's where all the boys were. And I think that's when I started to realize like, oh, like there's this attraction and somebody actually can look at you the same way.
Yeah.
And then
like towards brown guys.
Yeah. I don't think I ever felt anything reciprocated back to me at school. Like if I like Luke probably barely knew I existed, let's say, right?
Yeah.
But I started to like understand, or that the feeling got a little deeper or more tangible when I was around people who looked like me. And
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think so.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I forgot to mention that was the other place you would meet people, or the fairs, the
Melas,
Zonta, whatever. Jonta Mela, and
yes,
some of those, melas.
And you want to look your best. We used to steal like the little, the Lancome gift sets that come with the purchase.
Yeah.
Those were such a big thing, and we would take like the mascara and look, I would put mascara on or whatever, just thinking that we're getting dressed up for the boys.
And I remember all we did was we would just walk around in a circle. Because basically the Mallows were just set up in this big circle of stalls, and all we did, we just kept walking around circles. Who are we going to pass? Are we going to see him again? Like, what is wrong with us? But
same thing at those cricket matches. Like, I don't know. I still cannot tell you anything about cricket because obviously I wasn't paying attention. But that's why we were there.
What about you, Maya? Where were you in like that 8th, 9th grade period?
In Vancouver, and it's such a small community in Vancouver that everybody knows everyone. So there was really, everybody was like either Boro Bhai or Choto Bhai.
Oh, yes.
And so, no, none of those guys. However, there was this one boy. He was Bangladeshi.
Oh.
And oh my gosh, he was something else.
I wonder if he's watching.
I doubt it because he was so white. I mean, he went to a private school. He was very.
Oh wait. Oh, I mean, he's Bangladeshi, but like I understand.
Bangladeshi, yeah.
Got it.
So he was Bangladeshi, but he was never in any of the deshi get-togethers or anything. Neither was his mom.
Oh.
So, and he used to play ultimate frisbee, and I don't know how we connected. I used to go watch him play sometimes. He never knew anything. I mean, we were just friends, and we used to share poetry.
Romantic. What? Very romantic.
Poetry? What kind of poetry did you share at that age?
I used to write a little bit here and there.
Your own poetry?
My own poetry.
And he wrote poetry too?
He wrote poetry and he would write little stories. That was my first Bangladeshi crush. But again, he had no idea what was going on. I didn't start dating until I was in 10th grade. That was a brown guy, but not Bangladeshi. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I was just thinking about 6th grade. I think the very first was for me 6th grade.
Your first kiss?
I actually don't remember if there was a kiss. Not my first going together. Like I don't even think a boyfriend. I don't know. It lasted like maybe 3 weeks. I don't know. But
that's a long relationship.
6th grade. Yeah. 6th grade in orchestra.
Wow, this is already becoming nerdy.
Yep, totally nerdy. It was an orchestra. I think he was the coolest of the orchestra ones, I'd like to think. And it was just it was just so innocent. It's just like, you want to go together? And like, okay. And then we just wait for each other at lockers or leave notes for each other and maybe hold hands in the hallway. Cute. But now that I think about it, it was actually 6th grade. So maybe I was sooner than
you were little.
But no, I'm telling you, I mean, that was, I know we always say like nowadays everything is way more advanced than when we were growing up. But I remember even in countries like Bangladesh, there were definitely kids, boyfriend, girlfriend, or trying to go out. You know, again, we'd go to like these coaching or whatever, and then they would meet. Like the drivers all knew.
Yes.
They all, if you want TMZ in Dhaka, just call a bunch of drivers because they know 411 on everything.
That's right.
Yeah.
And God bless those guys because they never ratted on us.
That's
and
right.
It was very much like, you know, they knew what was going on and we'd be like, okay, we're going to stop here for 20 minutes and don't tell mom. But yeah, so a lot of that would happen. We used to go to Hot Hut, which I think we talked about before, but that was big.
And Candy Floss.
That was a cool hangout place when we were growing up. It was brand new at that point, so everybody hung out at Hot Hut. I will tell you, my first kiss was behind like Mastermind. There was this one little area that you could like go a little bit down the hill. It was basically like dirt, man. And so people would take turns making out on that slope.
There were fewer people then too in the city.
Yeah, making out in that slope, like on that slope, and the others would be on watch, you know. And then it'd be like,
when is this between your tuition classes?
It would basically be at the end of it all, right? Like we're done and we're just hanging out. And so you would. That's where you would go. Or the other very popular place would be going on people's chads, rooftops.
Oh yeah.
And you would, again, people would take turns and make out on the rooftop, and then you'd come out, and you know everyone would be like, ooh, and then the next couple would go. I mean, what were you thinking?
Yes, very openly with others as well. Like
yes.
Whether it's in college, whether there's a roommate or whatever, it's like I could never. If I to go back to that, I would be like, "What? That exactly? What were we thinking? I could never do that again."
I mean, and I had been to people's buildings that I didn't even know those people, right? Like it was like, oh, so and so's dosto has a rooftop that.
Litoner flat. There was a big thing about Litoner flat. Did you know?
Litoner flat.
Who's Liton? Just making up a name or actual? Did you know someone? Oh, no. There was literally a Litoner flat.
At the Natok Chilo, it was called Litoner flat, where the guy kept pushing his girlfriend, saying, "Cholo, Litoner flat today," so they could have sex. Yeah.
That's. I mean, we were too young to even think about that. It was mostly like kissing.
Exactly. Exactly. Or just talking on the phone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I used to have a phone. I wonder if my mom ever knew. If she didn't, she'll know now. I had a phone in my room that I would use at night. Like, so back then there was like it was all one line. Like you can plug in my room or the kitchen or whatever. If someone picked up, they would hear us talking.
Right.
And then the stupid internet, like we all used the same line.
Yeah.
But when we got the new internet line, my dad got another number. And so at night I would undo the thing from the computer so that I could use that line. And like, yeah, it's like the things you become very innovative.
Oh, we all become very resourceful. When there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. But I don't think they ever knew I had that phone. I think I had a phone like probably through high school into college.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, because
landline or was that a cell phone?
No, a landline because I got in trouble a lot because of voice. A lot.
Really?
Yes.
I need more. I need to know more.
A lot. Like I did a lot of stupid shit. And now I'm just trying to remember. Obviously, I was at home through high school. I was in the dorms for one semester at UNT in Texas.
Oh, okay. So now we're in college.
So I was in the dorms for one semester. I don't even think I went to classes. Barely.
Oh my God.
Right? And then I think because of that, I think my parents, obviously, they know, even if you don't tell them. And all the times I got caught in between. Because they know that the tendency is there to just not focus on what I'm supposed to be focused on in school. So when they had to move to Florida for my dad's job, I went with them. Like they would not leave me in Texas unsupervised, right? And a dorm. And it was probably the best decision they'd ever made. So then I lived at home. And so even then, I went to school. It was in college. I lived at home. Even then, for a while, I had like a Lucana phone in my room.
Oh my God. Wow. So you went to Radio Shack, RIP, to buy a phone? Like,
probably. Yeah, I don't even buy one. I don't even know.
I remember, so the other way was there was always a cordless phone too, right? So at night, you would always somehow sneak that cordless phone from like the main area of your, house or apartment and like take it to your room.
That's right. And until it died.
Yeah, exactly. And the other problem was those damn phones beeped when you put in the key,
Yeah.
Beep, 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 and you had to, like, I would literally put it under my pillow, dial the number.
You can silence those, right?
No. I don't know if those had all that technology. I mean, I'm talking about now, we're now living in New York. It's probably 96.
Yeah, maybe not.
It was, and there was always a phone in your parents' room, and sometimes my mom would pick up and be like,
"Yes,
phone Rocco," or like she knew what was happening because I would be like talking to a guy.
Yeah.
They knew what was happening.
They knew.
But I remember that very clearly too. Like I'd hide it under the pillow.
Do you remember Dhaka rotary phone at tala diye rakhto?
Yes.
Actually,
yes.
Because it costs money to talk on the phone. Like every minute or every second costs money. And I think like Buara or whoever, kids, like people who should not be using the phone for leisure, they tala diye rakhto.
I remember that. It was like these small locks. I totally remember that.
Mm-hmm.
When was your first kiss, Marion? I need to know this because you were so douche.
I was so douche.
She can't keep
she can't even keep track.
Stop it.
This is the episode your daughter does not listen to or watch. Make sure she watches this after.
That's another balance of like, how much should I say now versus later?
Yeah.
Because she needs to, I'm like, oh man, I got in a lot of trouble. I can't even share here. How old was I? I want to say like 8th grade. 8th, 9th grade.
I'm like the latest bloomer of all of you.
How late? And I thought I was a loser.
I was 10th grade going into 11th grade.
Wow.
It was that summer. It was a summer romance.
Oh, those are the best. I love the shows where it's like,
yes.
I've been
the summer
binging.
I turned pretty.
Yes. I mean, totally binged on that.
Well, that's the other thing. So the whole, and I feel like I need to blame like Karan Johar for all of my mistakes and all of my like distorted realities growing up and all the wrong expectations, because that's what you kind of want to, right? Like, I don't know, you guys are looking at me like,
you mean the Bollywood
fuck
romance?
Are you talking about? Yes, because that's like the whole thing of like, you want to feel those butterflies, yeah. Or like everybody wants a Raj to their Simran, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I totally did.
Literally nightmares all happening.
Why?
Because I had a guy, his name was Raj as well.
Oh my god.
And he literally was Karan Johar's Raj.
Really?
No joke. I used to meet these guys in the weirdest places. So this guy, he worked for his dad's company, went to my mom's office for something, because my mom was an interior designer. She worked for an architectural company. She brought him home. And this was me when I was maybe senior in high school, maybe starting university.
Wait, she brought Raj home or Raj's dad?
No, she brought Raj home.
Just clarify.
Yeah. No, I think it was towards the end of the workday. So he asked if he could drive her home. So when he drove her home, she was like, why don't you come in for some tea? And he came and, I was there. So I served food or whatever.
He was
snacks.
Served food. Like a true daughter-in-law.
Just a true daughter. This dude, I don't know. I have no words, because he was the picture perfect Raj. He came from a wealthy family. He was good looking. He was tall. His name was Raj.
And was he Indian? Just
he was. Yeah, he was Indian.
Okay.
Or he is Indian. And then after that day, I think he asked my mom if he could take me out, and my mom was like, "Okay." Yeah,
your
she
mom
was like,
said yes?
Yeah, like as friends.
Oh, like it's
obviously
innocent.
Yeah. So we went out. We would walk by the beach, because we live right, like literally across the street from the beach. So we would do our little walks and everything, and he was obsessed. So I think ever since that, even now, I'm not joking. Like, he messaged me a couple weeks ago. He's married with kids, and he's like, I can't stop thinking about those moments. There were no moments.
Oh, I kid you not. He went from Raj to Kiran real fast.
Nice.
There were no
Nicely
moments.
Done.
We literally walked around at the beach. That's it. I have to mention, we kissed one time. And that was it. But then he got weird. And ever since then, I cannot take that whole Karan Johar Raj trope.
Oh, man.
No way. I just have a bad taste in my mouth.
Super problematic when you look back at it now.
Yeah.
But that was kind of like, and the whole interest in like wearing shalwar kameez, maybe it's just me, but I was like, that's when I actually felt, but that's when I felt like attractive. That's when I felt pretty, was when I was.
Yeah. Or in a sari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think there's a state, like, I don't know what my mom or what my parents thought or family. But nowadays, I feel like I'm a little more, because I felt it was so innocent, like maybe some kissing and holding hands, but that's it, right? My whole, like, until, much, 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 much later. But I wonder if kids like nowadays, I don't know. I've heard some scary stories of kids doing other things.
Kids are sexually active in junior high now, and I think that's why pediatricians will start having more like one-on-one
sessions
where they're like, okay, parents, you can walk outside now. I have some questions or whatever, because they do ask questions like, are you sexually active? And we definitely see teen pregnancies, and those can be earlier too. So I think that's why it is important to have those conversations with your children at this age, because if we don't, they're going to hear about it anyways. And certainly there are health classes they take every grade where they get into more details about it. But for sure, we
had no information outside of like the talk. But it was never
talk. It wasn't from our parents, right? It was like whatever we learned in 5th grade.
So it was always so like hush hush and so taboo that I think it makes you more curious.
Yeah.
And want to do it more, and then do all these little innovative things to have access. But had it been more open, I don't think I would have. I mean, not just open, but I think just understand. I talked to my therapist about this, but just understanding that that's just the age. Like, this shit will happen.
Yeah.
It's human, right?
It's part of growing up.
And she actually had to talk me through, like, stop feeling so bad, or feeling the guilt, or feeling so ashamed because of whatever pain I may have caused my parents or my family or whatever. Because of course it's like the world is over for them.
Right.
And, I'd probably say like what I did was like extreme. And she's like, I don't think it was that bad. But because that's your age, and that's just what you go through. It's just how your parents deal with it, or how you experience it, is what leaves you, what the trauma is later.
Right. I think that's a great point of like how your parents receive it, and how that can leave a lasting effect on the child. Because you're right. I mean, in our culture, holding hands and kissing at that age is a huge deal.
Huge.
But if we were to have this conversation with, some of our other counterparts in other, even in the US, they're gonna be like, that's so cute. I actually invite my son's girlfriend to family dinners. And like, oh, hell no, that would not, we would get murdered. There are countries where they will murder you.
Yes.
So it is interesting how we were raised. And none of our parents are super conservative in that sense. Like,
but still, when it comes to that,
still expected to respect some of the expectations of, marriage is what, everybody's goal is. And that's when you can engage with one person, and that's it. So
now that I'm thinking about this again. There was a moment where my mom knew, but she handled it. Now, when I think about it, she handled it in a way that it was like accepting of her to certain limits, but only to get me out of it. And she was right. It was not where I needed to be at that point in my life, or who I needed to be with. But she used the acceptance as a tool to like earn my trust, and me to earn her trust. And then she kind of guided me out of it.
Why would she guide you out of it? Was it a bad relationship?
Yeah. It was not good. It was not healthy. It was just not.
Well, sure.
Right.
Was your first boyfriend the guy that we talked about?
Yes. You guys all know who it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know, right?
We're cutting this part out because I'm not saying his name. Yeah, it was. So it's funny. So I had my first boyfriend in Dhaka, and then this is where it became sad being one of the Diplo brats, right? Because you move every 3 to 4 years to make these best friends, and then you have to like start all over again. And I think that was one of my biggest impacts with moving around, was at that stage of my life where I'm like, oh my God, I'm in love with this boy, and I have to leave and go to the US. I mean, we're not talking about like, hey, I'll fly and see you.
Yeah.
Like, we will never see each other again situation. And you're like, oh, I'll keep in touch. There's no email back then. You would literally send snail mail.
Yes.
So it was different, right? To have that kind of experience where you're like, okay, I guess this is it. It wasn't like we ever broke up. We sort of had to kind of stop,
just end
because of our lives. Like, I was moving, and we did keep in touch in terms of like letters and stuff, but at some point obviously we kind of moved on. And what's funny is I met my slew of random dudes that I met and dated, like via AOL and shit like that I'm now looking back, I'm like, what the hell?
Cringe.
There was one guy who claimed he was recruited by the Wu-Tang Clan.
Shut up.
What?
The same dude.
That was like a flex?
Yeah, I think so. He was not Bangladeshi. He was Desi, but not Bangladeshi. But I ain't gonna call out the countries because I don't want to embarrass anybody. But he's the same guy who would be like, "Oh, I was born in England" and all this stuff, and I'm like, "Okay, that's cool." But then another conversation, he would be like, "I have never been to the country Europe."
Oh no!
And I was like mortified. I'm like, first of all, Europe is not a country, and second, if you were born in England, how do you not know what Europe is? I was like, I need to cut this guy. And what was really funny about this story is it was like a summer fling, and I was like, all right, this dude is an idiot. Like, I cannot. He was very, very cute. His name, okay.
The Blinders.
He went by Ray. His name was Rahman, but he went by Ray.
No.
Very cute, very handsome, but a complete idiot.
And so recruited by the Wu-Tang Clan.
Exactly. Dead. So when I decided, like, all right, I need to end this, I break up with him. And, my brother and him had sort of gotten to know each other. And it's not like they were friends, but they knew each other. So one fine evening, we get a call. So this is when we lived in New York. We get a call from the doorman. There's like an individual in our lobby. He's drunk. He claims to know you or something like that. I was like, oh my God.
Mortified.
And so like I find my brother and him in the lobby, and this kid, Ray, is drunk out of his mind. Just like really upset about the breakup.
Crazy for you.
Yeah. And my mom comes downstairs and she's like, what?
I'm triggered.
The Allah, I'm like, fuck. And she kind of knew about this guy because that's when like they would call and be like, hey, may I speak to Bush, right? Like parents started catching on, like, okay, there's some boys. But to the credit of my mom, she was like, let's bring him home and sober him up.
Help him.
Because he came from a much more religious culture, and he would get into a shit ton of trouble if he went home in that state. So my mom was like, get him back, to a normal state and then have him go home. But yeah, that was another one of my many douchebag dudes I encountered in my...
What happened to me was at that time, it was like we got caught. Basically, we think we were hiding. But when that happened, caught by my parents, blah, 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 it was like all hell broke loose to the point where my dad was like, pack your bags and only pack all your onnas and long sleeve clothes and shalwar kameezes because I'm sending you to Canada to live with your very religious chacha. Like that was the threat. Like this is done. The fear of God. Only that. Anyway, so we stopped communication. Obviously, we couldn't talk to each other. And another one, like, I guess. We had visitors. I think we were in transition between like a house and an apartment or something. We were in an apartment for a period of time before moving into our new house. And so we had visitors like from Bangladesh, like a Kala.
Yeah. From
Dhaka and her daughters or whatever, staying in my room. And he, like, in the middle of the night, knocked on the window. Yes. I didn't know what happened. I was in another room asleep. But she freaked out, right? This Kala was like, what is this? Like, Jorashte, like, what is this? And this is in the middle of, like, again, like Dallas, Texas. Like, this is not even,
Oh, my gosh. No cell phones?
I don't think so.
No, man. Maya, we are way older than you. The cell phones didn't come into our lives until senior year of college, most likely.
Yeah, exactly.
We used to have pagers.
Yes.
Even when I hung out with your boy Fuad, like we would all page each other and be like, somebody call me.
Yes.
There was no other way of connecting with them. But,
yes. Yep. And that's,
Yeah.
Yeah. So these things, like, you can't escape.
speaking of Fuad, actually part of the reason we became very close is because, again, it was one of those, we all met each other in like these random Bangladeshi night events through college. It was like at Rutgers, we all met. But I dated one of his friends. I dated one of his friends, and he shall also remain unnamed.
Is that who I think it is?
It is. We've talked about this.
Yeah, I got fooled by that dude too, because he claimed he went to Brooklyn College. He never did. He wasn't in college. I was lied to. And
wait, he wasn't in college?
No. So when we all met, everyone's like, "Koi paro," like, which school are you in, and all this stuff. And we all, went around, and he said he went to Brooklyn College. And I was like, okay, cool. And many months later, I found out that was a giant lie. Mm-hmm. So
the lies.
Yeah. So there was one of those. Very sweet. He was very cute and sweet and all of that. But yeah, I did find out he lied about that. I picked some real good ones.
Yeah, same. Yeah. The lies. Again, I can't share.
I had one bad apple, and the rest. I had a different personality when I was young. I think it might have something to do with my parents split up. I was a huge tease, so I would string them along for a bit, couple of weeks. Just the second I felt like things were getting a little serious, they were gonna get a little handsy, I'd just ghost them.
Ooh, but is that a tease?
But is it though? Like,
because I mean, I had my ugly phase, but then as I got a little older, I had my pretty phase, and I was very, I don't know how to describe it. I was
more
very
developed.
Not developed. I was very flirty. I dressed really,
sure.
Kolamela, kaporportam, all of that. And I don't know. I just, I'd flirt with them whenever they'd call, all of that. But after a few weeks, it just would. I think what my therapist said is that the thing that I went through was when the second I felt like things were getting deep, there was a chance that I could get hurt.
Yep.
Yeah. I would back out. Yeah. I would back out because I didn't want to put myself through that. Yeah.
Yeah. You had commitment issues, which makes sense. Mm-hmm. Your parents got a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And look at all of us now. Here we are. Survived
so
all of
different.
Those.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think my track record with all the douches, like that, the track needs to change.
Well, I mean, we talked about this, but it is hard for someone like you who's, now divorced and single, trying to get back to whether it's dating a Bangladeshi person or even
anyone.
It's a little bit harder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now that I think about it with you, Marian, I feel like you need a Bangladeshi guy. I don't think it's going to happen.
Why do you say that?
Because you just said yourself that you didn't feel like since you were younger, that's what made you feel good. That's your
interesting insight.
Your feel good spot. Maybe that's what gives you confidence and
maybe.
I don't know.
Who needs therapy when we have Dr. Maya?
Right, exactly.
Well, have you did you date other races,
never.
Cultures?
Outside
so you always dated Bangladeshis?
The first one in orchestra.
No way.
White boy.
You've only dated Bangladeshis. Like for me, it was like I dated desis, right? Like not just Bangladeshis.
Not just all Bangladeshi, but all brown.
Yeah,
really,
for sure. Like South Asian.
And then I literally never dated anyone that wasn't brown.
And then you married Damon,
a white dude.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that would ever. It's kind of funny to your point when you were like, I didn't think Luke noticed me. It was the same with Steve in 5th grade. Because I was like, why would these, hot white guys care about us, right? Like we're not the blonde, perfect.
Because I was thinking of Zach Morris, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not Kelly Kapowski.
Right, exactly. We grew up with Kelly Kapowski, and that wasn't. We never saw any of us on screen. I mean,
never
we do now, but.
Which is probably why Karan Johar ruined my life because that's all I ever got.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So that was never an expectation. I never even, even swam across that area because I was like, there's no way that I would survive. And so it was always like, okay, brown dudes is the only area of focus. But
no, but you're right, Maya. I don't imagine, I can't picture myself otherwise.
Yeah.
Like to be able to click. But then I also have a like deep fear of that's where all the douche experiences happened. All the toxicity, all the lies, like all the things. So I'm just like, I'm good right now. Right? Like, but I don't know. I can't imagine myself like with another.
But I guess going back to the whole like normalizing things, right? Like normalizing being a hot mess. You don't have to be this perfect, girl boss and all these things that people talk about. I think it's also normal to choose to be single. Mm-hmm. It's normal to choose to be single at an older age. Like everyone's like, oh my God, be and I, and all this stuff.
Right.
That's not for everybody. Like, stop with that expectation.
Right.
By this age, you should be married. By this age, you should have children. By this age, you should have grandchildren.
Or what are you going to do when you're old? You can't be alone.
Right.
And it's like, but you have a community. You can, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, it's good to want companionship. I think that's totally normal in human nature. But it's also okay to choose that, you know what, I will have companionship, but I don't have to be married. When I want to, yes. Or, exactly, when it's convenient for me. So, I think it's good to see more people like that.
Want versus need. There was somebody very close in my life who got married and stayed in a relationship because she was afraid of being alone when she's older. And I see her now, and she's in this awful toxic relationship. And I was talking to my dad the other day, and I was telling him how I think from her is where I've learned that I don't need Fuad in my life. I want him there.
Yes.
Because I choose for him to be there. Yes. I love his company. I love him.
Yes.
But I can handle, it's hard, but I want to be able to live my life on my own terms, not be fearful of being by myself.
Yep.
I think only when you learn to enjoy your own company by yourself is when I think you can open the doors for someone else to come in and really.
That's a really good point. And I think, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I was kind of raised or groomed to you can't want that. Like there's a time for it, I will tell you, but that want needs to not exist until we think it's ready. And so then I come out of it, and I actually was very late into my marriage. Like when I realized that I don't need to be here. I don't need you. I have to want you. And we actually didn't agree with that. It's a whole other thing. But I didn't realize that we should be given the permission to want.
Yeah, and it's considered selfish to prioritize yourself first. Is especially women in our culture, it's considered selfish. Like, why are you thinking of yourself first? But if you can't take care of yourself, then you can't take care of others. I mean, that's
exactly
so important. But to your point, Maya, like RuPaul says, right? If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love anybody else?
I love it.
Yeah.
Well said.
It's an unexpected quote.
You can always count on me for that.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.